Howdy, I'm the Chinese Zodiac Killer, and no, I'm not a Christian. But I've combined as many systems as possible to learn what I can from them in my quest to discover the secrets of reality. And so, I've even read the New Testament, also known as the most boring fucking book ever, to see what I can learn from it. So let's discuss how some teachings of Christ seem to correlate to the methodology I'm trying to explain. Now, I imagine I'm about to open a can of worms. Every fucking Christian listening to this video is going to chime in, correcting me as to what they believe Christ is saying, as opposed to what I'm saying. Look, I'm an occultist and a psychonaut. That is to say, an explorer of the outer perimeters of what we collectively agree constitutes as both reality and thus sanity. Likewise, incorporating my basic understanding of what I've learned from the basic principles of quantum and theoretical physics. I'm not going to get into a holy war in this discussion arguing over what Christ meant. Like anyone who has ever read the Bible, I'm going to interpret it from my own viewpoint, which just happens to be that of an occultist and a psychonaut, not a religious devotee of the Christian faith. In fact, my god is Odin, and I likewise work with many other gods and archetypes as I see fit. Also, while I try to make 1-minute videos at most lately, this one's going to take some further discussion, so bear with me. And that being said, let's get to it. If you've watched my other videos in my recent series, I've been emphasizing how belief, thoughts, emotions, and perception shape reality, which correlates to both principles I've learned from quantum physics and the occult. Now, in the New Testament, Jesus continually emphasizes the importance of faith and belief. Typically, I think Christians interpret this as devotion to Christ, God, and the religion. But as an occultist with a basic understanding of quantum physics, I think that is completely missing the point. And that instead, Christ is literally emphasizing that faith and belief have a powerful effect on reality, as I have discussed in the previous videos in this series. In fact, in the New Testament, the word faith appears over 200 times, and the word belief appears nearly 250 times. So something's definitely going on here. Now, the more people that unify their belief in conjunction, the more the power over reality is amplified. If the stories of Christ are true, and Christ understood the methodology to manipulation of how reality can be shaped through belief, combined with the faith and belief in him by a considerable number of people who were convinced that he could work what was seen to them as miracles, and thus amplifying his power over reality, this would have theoretically enabled him to have some ability to then manipulate reality amplified through his believers. 2,000 plus years ago, he would have been seen as a god. And that's where that comes from. Likewise, as everyone interprets the scriptures differently, while there's some ambiguity as to the interpretation of the book of Matthew, around chapter 13, verse 38, when Jesus returns to his hometown in Nazareth, it is implied that he, as it is written, did not do many miracles there because of their unbelief. Now compare this to the book of Matthew in chapter 9, verses 28 through 31. Now I'm using a New Century interpretation just for the record. So, blind men come to Jesus. He asks them, "Do you believe that I can make you see again?" They answer, "Yes, Lord." And then Jesus touched their eyes and said, "Because you believe I can make you see again, it will happen." And then the men were able to see. So think about this. Jesus didn't do many miracles in Nazareth simply because of their unbelief. And then when the blind men, he asked them if they believe in him, and only when they confirm they do, does Jesus tell them, because they believe, he can restore their sight. So Jesus is the modern day poster child for love and compassion. So what then? If people in Nazareth didn't believe in him, then what? He would have refused to make miracles despite them? What if the blind men said they didn't believe in him? What then? Would he have been such a dickhead that he wouldn't have restored their sight anyways, when he's supposedly this compassionate icon? What I'm seeing here is that when it is said that when Jesus returned to Nazareth, the reason he didn't do many miracles there was because of their unbelief in him. Because we create and shape our collective reality through belief, and perception of it because they didn't believe in him. That is why his power to work miracles was diminished. He didn't have the collective belief in him amplifying his power over reality. In fact, their unbelief in him likely contributed to his inability to make miracles for them as well, because their perception of their own reality was limited to their belief in what their concept of reality was, which didn't include this guy they knew locally as having messianic powers. They likely didn't see him as the Son of God. They likely saw him as the son of Joseph and Mary, two seemingly regular people from town. The same goes for the blind men. Why would Jesus make sure they express their faith and belief in him as a requirement for restoring their sight? He literally says, because you believe, I can make you see again. This leads me to the conclusion that should they have not believed he had this power over reality, they would have limited his shaping of their collective reality to what only they believed was possible, which would have then been that they will be blind forever. In my opinion, if there is truth to these stories, which historical evidence at least concludes Christ was a real person, and that there are multiple testimonies that all match up with each other as to the events associated with him, that Jesus wasn't some Messiah we all have to follow, which, by the way, that kind of dogmatic belief has resulted in everything from torture to genocide over the centuries by Christians trying to force this belief on all kinds of other cultures, from Islam to pagan, but that Jesus had somehow unlocked an understanding of how the secrets of reality work as though a very talented, high-level sorcerer does, for which, again, he would have been viewed as a god with these kind of abilities thousands of years ago. These are abilities that should be unlockable by anyone who learns to do so. Jesus is called the Son of God, yet the Bible even says over and over, we are all likewise children of God. In fact, when I read the New Testament, I was shocked that not only did Jesus have these abilities, but that through his guidance, his apostles also learned to work miracles too, which confirms my conclusion that anyone can unlock these abilities, not just one guy in history that the church wants you to worship while you give them your money, devotion, and little boys. So, thank you for your patience. The next two videos will discuss some really wild and cool examples of how belief shapes collective reality, and then I'll begin to discuss how quantum physics relates to what I've already covered. So watch my past videos, stay tuned, and I almost forgot. I know it's not much, but here's tonight's $50 winning lottery ticket. So don't touch that dial.